Tracy's Net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC. FC.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KF5PDS. My name is Billye, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts, and time permitting, we'll try to get to all of them. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, what can you see in the sky tonight, a featured constellation or object or topic, recent astronomical discoveries, space exploration and space history, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do the check-in honors, please.
And I'll be happy to do that, Miss Billye. This is KE5ICX. I'm out alternate net control this evening. I'm going to go ahead and take low-power short-time check-ins over RF. If you would please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name and your location. Let me know if you're low-power short-time. Please come now.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz Mobile Short Time.
This is November 5, Alpha Bravo Alpha, Andre in Dallas, low power.
Oh, Scott, KF5JHA, Chaz Mobile Short Time, our professional astronomer. N5ABA, Andre, low power in Dallas. Any additional low power short time, please come now. All right, let's go to general check-ins. If you would like to join us on RF, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and your location.
This is November 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill in Irving.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima Mobile, Dallas, Texas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David, St. Paul, Texas.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Carolyn and Lewis.
Is November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William,
in Allen.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto.
Bravo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
Kilo Golf 5, Victor Juliet Papa, Robert and Richardson.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick and Dallas.
Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas.
All right, let's stop there, and I'll get another round here in just a minute. Let me acknowledge who I know. I might need to fill. I think I got everybody, though. N5BB, Mr. Bill in Irving, KF5ZBL. The other Mr. Bill in Dallas Mobile, KG5EIU, David in St. Paul. I know that guy. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, I know him too. KC5OZT, Miss Carolyn, my neighbor down the street, Louisville, N5WOI, William and Allen, welcome back. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto, good to see you today. K5JDW, Mr. John in his summer home in Capel, KG5VJP, Robert in Richardson, KG5WBL, James in Carrollton, KG5APL, Patrick, I think I got it right, Dallas, W5EVB, David in Dallas, good seeing you today. Any additional over-air check-ins, please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. Hey, that's all right. Let me go over to Echolink. Echolink, if you would like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from. You can do it by voice or by chat. Either way, we will give you extra time. Echolink only, please come now.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Charlie Tango, David in Frisco.
Okay, let me get those folks checked in. KG5BZW, J near Weatherford. I've got KG5 Zulu Charlie Tango, David in Frisco. Any additional Echolink, please come out. I've got KE5JIT Randy in Louisville. I also have over on the Facebook, I got John S. He's one of our movie guys. He's also checked in Austin. so he's listening in as well. I don't see anybody else. Usual suspects are out there. So this is KE5ICX. I'm going to send it back to net control. KF5 PDS from KE5ICX.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, KE5ICX. This is KF5 PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, so thank you to everyone who's checked in, and welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with general announcements. So do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If so, please come now with your call time. Okay, not hearing anyone coming forth with announcements, so I'll go ahead with some of my own. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need to have Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. And this net originates in Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT net, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The DARC has several nets on Monday nights. The first Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's net. If you like to cook, eat, want to share a recipe, anecdote, have a question about food, join us for Ham Fixins. On the second Monday of the month, we have MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. For the third Monday of the month, come back to us for a second helping of Ham Fixin's net. And on the fourth Monday, we have GeekNet. We talk about news of the weird, any geeky books, science, tech, you name it. If it's geeky, we'll talk about it. And on fifth Mondays is always a surprise net. You never know what's going to show up for a fifth Monday. There's been anything from Christmas Thunderdome discussing best and worst Christmas presents of the year to April Fool's, Truth or Lies, and many, many rounds of Jeopardy have been played with great success. And there's even been a Build Your Own Story night on Surprise Net Monday nights. So please do join us for the Monday night nets. On Wednesdays, there is Veterans Net on the first and third week from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. And on Saturdays, we have the Night of Nets. TechNet at 7 to 8 p.m. and, of course, at 9 p.m. Skynet. And always remember that the ARRL net, National Traffic System Training Net, is every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and all are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And remember, after tonight's Skynet at 10:30, we have the Afterglow Movie Net. So at this time, I'll let Tom, KE5ICX, fill you in on the movie that we're going to be discussing this evening. This is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
Right, very good. And I did hear Tony in there, NT5TM. He does have announcements, so I'll go ahead and give mine, and then I'll send it over to Tony. This is KE5ICX. Are you ready for tonight's Afterglow movie information? Here it is. You only get to hear it once. Captain's Log, Moon Date 1101.3. I'm continuing my duties on the Sarang station located on the moon. I've discovered that my paycheck, which is sent to me by Interplanetary Express, is 1/3 what it was last week. Something strange is going on here. Narration. As time goes by, a new scene, It was good enough for her. It's good enough for me for this next comment. Captain's log, moon date 1102.5. My last paycheck just showed up. It's now 1/6 what it was last week. I've called human resources, but they're all on vacation, so no update as to what is happening. I did note my name now has the number 1 after it. Join us for the next Afterglow movie, Moon, from 2009, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Be there or be square. And Tony, you're next, NT5TM.
I'd like to remind everyone that all my announcements from TechNet are available at w5fc.org. And in particular, this means you. We need your help. The next Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on Tuesday, September 4th is a show and tell. If you have anything cool, as Tom mentioned earlier, something from your junk drawers, something from your closet, something from your tool shed, if you can talk about it for a minute or two, you can bring it to the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting. Have you built an antenna? Have you bent a coat hanger to an interesting shape? Have you made an interesting stormtrooper costume? If you have anything that you can show off that you think other hams might like, we'd like you to sign up. Please head over to w5fc.org. We'd love to have your help for the September 4th meeting. This is NT5TM.
Great. Thank you, Tony. That sounds like it's going to be a fun meeting. All right. So does anyone else have any announcements for this evening's net? If so, please come now with your call sign. Okay, I'm not hearing any. KE5ICX, did you happen to catch anybody that I missed on Echolink? Don't want to miss anybody out. So if you'll just type in the chat window and let me know, I'd appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you very much. Sometimes I'm on Echolink. Sometimes things don't make it to me, but they make it across the repeater, so I just want to be sure that we got everybody at this point. So thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. And just as a reminder, you can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, up next is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So if there's anyone on frequency that would like to give us information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, please come now with your call sign.
E5 ICX alternate net. There is a station out there. It's very, very weak, so we can't hear you. Can you increase power or improve position? E5 ICX back to net control.
Great, thank you, Tom. Yeah, the weak signals that make the repeater just are not making the threshold for Echolink. So for those listening, if you're trying to get in, as KE5ICX suggested, increase power or improve your position and recheck again, and we'll get you in there if you get to us. We'd love to hear from you, so keep trying. All right. Since no one has come forth with some announcements, I'll go ahead with some information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. The TAS has monthly meetings, except for November. That's usually bumped up to the third Friday because of Thanksgiving, and there's usually no meeting in December. The meetings are held at the University of Texas at Dallas campus at Richardson, and the meetings begin at 7:30 p.m. in the Science Learning Center, building SLC, Sierra Lima Charlie, on the campus map, and you should only park in lots H, I, or J, as parking anywhere else on campus could result in a ticket. You can click on links on the W5FC website to get to a map. You can also get to a map on www.utdallas.edu to see the campus map. The meetings include programs presented by members or guest speakers and a slideshow of the current constellation of the month. You might also want to get there a little bit early, around 7 o'clock. That way you can meet members and get a seat. And also, sometimes we'll do new member orientations or introductory programs from 7 to 7:30. So it would definitely behoove you to get there around 7, and that way you can get situated and hear of any preliminary information and get to know some folks before the meeting starts at 7:30. You can find out more about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas by visiting their website, www.texasastro.org. The Texas Astronomical Society also hosts observing parties every Saturday night, beginning at sunset and concluding around 10 p.m. Central Time. Each week is a different location for observing, so make sure you get complete details for the Saturday that you wish to attend. Again, go to texasastro.org and select the calendar to get the pull down and receive more details. Every Saturday night, weather permitting, of course, there's usually a star party, and they're in different locations. The first Saturday is Spring Park in Garland. The second Saturday is Frisco Commons Park in Frisco. The third Saturday is J.W. Williams Park in Cedar Hill. And the fourth Saturday is the Shores Park in Rockwall. So normally tonight there would be a star party at the Shores Park. So I'm not sure, I didn't see anything across Facebook as to whether it was a go or not. So if it was a go and there's someone at the star party that would like to check in and give us some details on what you're observing, it's a beautiful night out, so I'm sure it was a go. If so, please come now with your call sign, and we'd love to hear what you're observing tonight. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone, so this is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up in our program is the National Space Society events and activities. So at this time, I'll call on Bill N5BB to give us the information about the National Space Society. The net is yours.
Thank you very much, Billy. This is N5BB. National Space Society news. Well, the first thing is the National Space Society next meeting will be, as always, the second Sunday of the month, or Sunday, September the 9th. The meeting will be at the Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving, across the street from Irving Mall. If you wish to attend, I can sponsor you as a visitor. You can reach me at n5bb@arl.net. Now, various items of news. The National Space Society will be participating at FENCOM, FENCOM, which is a fantasy science fiction kind of convention in Irving at the Weston DFW Airport on Highway 114 on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, September 21, 22, and 23. Larry Niven will be the speaker of honor at that particular event. And the National Space Society local chapter will have a table just for people to see us. Okay, there also is a World Space Week meeting tentatively set up for the Perot Museum on Saturday, October the 6th. And then there is a big North Texas Space Roundup at the Girl Scout Center of Excellence, the STEM Center of Excellence in Whispering Cedars. That's the new building that was built, facility that was opened this summer. And that meeting will be on October the 27th, Saturday. So these are all local events. Now for some other events, we have a news from today. Exos Aerospace, that's EXOS Aerospace, from Caddo Mills, Texas, which is between Dallas and Greenville. It's roughly halfway between Dallas and Greenville, kind of, right off of I-30. That's where the company is located. They have a new suborbital rocket called SARGE, S-A-R-G-E, and it had a very successful test launch earlier today at Spaceport America in New Mexico. So they lifted off at about 1:15 p.m. Central Time today and landed about 15 minutes later. So Exos Aerospace is developing reusable spacecraft to launch small payloads up to space, both suborbital right now and eventually orbital. So they're looking at launching things like small satellites, small cube satellites, things of that nature. So that's kind of exciting here for us locally in the DFW area. And they are trying to make their space vehicles reusable so they can recover the launch vehicle via a parachute. Zen 5BB. Okay, some other news. I can't remember if this has been reported yet on this net, but as reported on August the 4th, this month of August, the 4th of this month, in the Dallas Morning News, NASA introduces the crews for the new manned flights. So NASA has released funding for Boeing and SpaceX to develop independently spacecraft for flying crews to the International Space Station. And originally they wanted the test flights to be before the end of this year, but now it looks like both companies will have test flights next year. SpaceX plans to have crews ready for April of 2019, and Boeing thinks it'll be the middle of next year. The Boeing will fly NASA astronauts, essentially. 8 current NASA astronauts are lined up. So that's kind of exciting information coming up in space. Some other items. Hang on a second while I get to my information, because I was not called on last week, so we have a lot of things to talk about real quickly. Let me find my notes. The Virgin Galactic had a successful third flight, and it was on July the 26th. And it went to about 46,500 feet, the carrier aircraft, before releasing the module that goes much higher. So the Unity module fired its engines in 42 seconds and went very high. It went to about 52,000 meters, 170,800 feet. So that was the Virgin Galactic test flight. What else? I think that's all for now. There's a lot of other things happening, but I'll leave those for later. Oh, by the way, there's one more thing I sent out to a few of you. There was This American Life this weekend has got a interview with hold on. Frank Borman, astronaut Frank Borman from Apollo 8. And Frank is kind of unimpressed by space. That's the best way of describing it. So if you have a chance, listen to the This American Life episode. It won't be available on their website until tomorrow evening, Sunday evening. But if you can reach This American Life on a live broadcast, you can hear it this weekend. It was broadcast today somewhere around 11 or 12 o'clock locally on KERA-FM. That's all I got in 5BB.
Great. Thank you very much, Bill. That's some really exciting news. And, yeah, I love NPR, all the radio programs on KERA. I use the TuneIn app, and you can save a lot of the podcasts, and also you can see where they're being broadcast live. So for those who have not familiar, there are other apps out there, surely, but TuneIn is a good one, and you can save things to your favorites. You can save the podcasts. I have a lot of the NPR podcasts saved in my app, like Think and This American Life and Away with Words. There's tons of good programming there. So thank you very much. It's definitely a program to look out for. I'd love to listen to Frank Borman. So definitely let's all try to check that out. So thank you very much, Bill, for all the exciting National Space Society news. This is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, up next is NCS topic of the evening. So as y'all know, or may not if you're just now joining us, I am in the process of doing a multi-part series on NASA analog missions. So every month when it's my turn to be net control, I will be discussing briefly, hitting the highlights on each analog mission. I've already done a couple of them. And you can also read about these in detail on NASA.gov website. Just look for NASA analog missions, and it'll take you to the home page. And then you'll have links to all the different analog missions that are going on. I've already discussed several, but you can see I'm just going down the list. So I'm only on like the third one. So just if you're just now joining us, it's like, why do we use analog missions? So analog missions prepare us for near-future exploration to asteroids, Mars, and the Moon. And analogs play a significant role in problem-solving for spaceflight research. Not all experiments can be done in space. There's not enough time, money, equipment, and manpower. And also countermeasures can be tested in analogs before we try them in space. And those that do not work in analogs will not be flown in space. And ground-based analog studies are completed more quickly and less expensively. So tonight, I would like to hit the highlights on the NASA Space Radiation Lab, or NSERL. But before I do that, let's just talk for a moment about Why does space radiation matter? So, first of all, what is radiation? Outside the protective cocoon of the Earth's atmosphere is a universe full of radiation. It's all around us. Say the word radiation to 3 different people, and you'll probably get 3 different reactions. Your aunt may tell you how radiation destroyed her cancer. Your neighbor may mention the duck and cover procedures of his day. And your comic-loving friend will explain how gamma rays turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk. Radiation comes in many forms and is all around us all the time. But what is radiation? Radiation is a form of energy that is emitted in the form of rays, electromagnetic waves, and or particles. We're using radiation right now to do this program. In some cases, radiation can be seen as invisible light or felt as in infrared radiation, while other forms like X-rays and gamma rays are not visible and can only be observed with special equipment. Although radiation can have negative effects both on biological and mechanical systems, it can also be carefully used to learn more about each of those systems. So what is space radiation? Well, space radiation is different from the kinds of radiation we experience here on Earth. Space radiation is comprised of atoms in which electrons have been stripped away as the atom accelerated in interstellar space to speeds approaching the speed of light. Eventually, only the nucleus of the atom remains. So space radiation is made up of 3 kinds of radiation: particles trapped in the Earth's magnetic field, particles shot into space during solar flares, and galactic cosmic rays, which are high-energy protons and heavy ions from outside our solar system. All of these kinds of space radiation represent what we call ionizing radiation. So, how much space radiation are astronauts exposed to? Beyond low Earth orbit, space radiation may place astronauts at significant risk for radiation sickness and increased lifetime risk for cancer, central nervous system effects, and degenerative diseases. Research studies of exposure in various doses and strengths of radiation provide strong evidence that cancer and degenerative diseases are to be expected from exposures to galactic cosmic rays or solar particle events. The millisievert is a form of measurement used for radiation. Astronauts are exposed to ionizing radiation with effective doses in the range from 50 to 2,000 millisieverts. 1 millisievert of ionizing radiation is equivalent to about 3 chest X-rays. So being exposed to 50 to 2,000 millisieverts is like you were to have 150 to 6,000 chest X-rays. So where does radiation come from? Well, radiation can be created by humans, microwaves, cell phones, radios, light bulbs, and diagnostic medical applications such as X-rays, or naturally occurring. Earth's biggest source of radiation is the sun. The sun emits all wavelengths in the electromagnetic spectrum. The majority is in the form of visible, infrared, and ultraviolet radiation. Occasionally, giant explosions called solar flares occur on the surface of the sun and release massive amounts of energy out into space in the form of X-rays, gamma rays, and streams of protons and electrons. This is called a solar particle event. These solar flares can have serious consequences to astronauts and their equipment, even at locations that are far from the sun. Radiation can be either non-ionizing, which is low energy, or ionizing, which is high energy. Ionizing radiation consists of particles that have enough energy to completely remove an electron from its orbit, thus creating a more positively charged atom. Less energetic, non-ionizing radiation does not have enough energy to remove electrons from the material it crosses. Examples of ionizing radiation include alpha particles, like a helium atom nucleus moving at very high speeds, beta particles, a high-speed electron or positron, gamma rays, X-rays, and galactic cosmic radiation from space. Examples of non-ionizing radiation include radio frequencies, microwaves, infrared, visible light, and ultraviolet light. While many forms of non-ionizing and ionizing radiation have become essential to our everyday life, each kind of radiation can cause damage to living and non-living objects, and precautions are required to prevent unnecessary risks. While non-ionizing radiation is damaging, it can easily be shielded out of an environment, as is done for UV radiation. Ionizing radiation, however, is much more difficult to avoid. Ionizing radiation has the ability to move through substances and alter them as it passes through. When this happens, it ionizes the atoms, in other words, it knocks the electrons out of them, in surrounding material which it interacts. So ionizing radiation is like an atomic scale cannonball that blasts through material, leaving significant damage behind. More damage can also be created by secondary particles that are propelled into motion by the primary radiation particle. Galactic cosmic radiation is a dominant source of radiation that must be dealt with aboard current spacecraft and future space missions within our solar system. Galactic cosmic radiation comes from outside the solar system, but primarily from within our Milky Way galaxy. Galactic cosmic radiation is composed of the nuclei of atoms that have had their surrounding electrons stripped away and are traveling at near the speed of light. Another way to think of GCR would be to imagine the nucleus of any element in the periodic table from hydrogen to uranium. Now imagine that same nucleus moving at incredibly high speed. The high-speed nucleus you are imagining is galactic cosmic radiation. These particles were probably accelerated within the last few million years by magnetic fields of supernova remnants. So are we protected from space radiation on Earth? Yes, but not entirely. Life on Earth is protected from the full impact of solar and cosmic radiation by the magnetic fields that surround the Earth and by the Earth's atmosphere. The Earth has also radiation belts caused by its magnetic field. The inner belt, or Van Allen belt, consists of ionizing radiation in the form of very energetic protons, byproducts of the collisions between GCR and atoms of Earth's atmosphere. The outer radiation belts contain protons and electrons, and as we travel farther from Earth's protective shields, we're exposed to the full radiation spectrum and its damaging effects. So this is why it's important for us to study radiation and especially look at the NASA Space Radiation Laboratory. So now let's talk about NSERL. So the NASA Space Radiation Laboratory is located in Upton, New York. The environment is a laboratory, and it tests for space radiation. So the NSERL helps to access many of the health risks associated with cosmic radiation. Before humans can travel for extended periods outside Earth's atmosphere, scientists must learn more about the risks posed by cosmic radiation. To better understand these risks, NASA has teamed with the U.S. Department of Energy to establish this lab at Brookhaven National Laboratory. So scientists use beams of ions to simulate cosmic rays and assess the risks of space radiation to human space travelers and equipment. So since modern astronauts are spending ever greater amounts of time in space and are exposed to the little understood effects of cosmic radiation, NASA and Brookhaven National Lab have established a joint lab, the NASA Space Radiation Laboratory, on the Brookhaven campus to study the possible effects of this exposure. So let's talk a little bit about the Brookhaven National Laboratory's relativistic heavy ion collider. The relativistic heavy ion collider complex is actually composed of a long chain of particle accelerators. Heavy ions begin their travels in the electron beam ion source accelerator. The ions then travel to the small circular booster, where, with each pass, they are accelerated to higher energy. If you're wanting to see a picture, you can follow along on bnl.gov, Bravo, November, Lima.gov. So the ions travel the small circular booster, where with each pass they are accelerated to higher energy. From the booster, ions travel to the alternating gradient synchrotron, which then injects the beams via a beam line into the two rings of the relativistic heavy ion collider. In the RHIC, the beams get a final accelerator kick-up in energy from radio waves. Once accelerated, the ions can orbit inside the rings for hours. RHIC can also conduct colliding beam experiments with polarized protons. These are first accelerated in the linear accelerator and further in the booster, alternating gradient synchrotron, and then finally into the RHIC. So let me give you just a little bit more information on these components of the collider. So the electron beam ion source is a compact source and heavy ion accelerator that serves as the start of the pre-injector system for the RHIC in the NASA Space Radiation Laboratory. The electron beam ion source can create highly charged ion beams from almost any element. These ion beams are then accelerated by two small linear accelerators and carried to the booster. The EBIS can feed beams of different ions to the RHIC and NSERL at practically the same time, and also quickly switch between different ion species. In addition to heavy ions, some experiments at the RHIC use colliding beams of protons. For these experiments, energetic protons are supplied by the 200 million electron volt linear accelerator. Protons from the LINAC are transferred to the booster. The booster synchrotron is a powerful circular accelerator that provides the ions more energy by having them surf ride down on the downhill slope of radio frequency electromagnetic waves. The ions are propelled forward at higher and higher speeds, getting closer and closer to the speed of light. The booster then feeds the beam into the alternating gradient synchrotron. As ions enter the alternating gradient synchrotron from the booster, they are traveling at about 37% of the speed of light. As they whirl around the AGS and are accelerated as in the booster, the ions get even more energy until they are traveling at 99.7% the speed of light. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second, the natural speed limit in the universe. Einstein created his theory of special relativity to describe the bizarre behavior of objects traveling this fast, hence the relativistic part of RHIC's name. When the ion beam is traveling at top speed in the AGS, it's taken down another beam line called the AGS to RHIC transfer line. At the end of this line, there is a fork in the road, where a switching magnet sends the ion bunches down to one of two beam lines. Bunches are directed either left to the clockwise RHIC ring, or right to travel counterclockwise in the second RHIC ring. From here on, the counter-rotating beams are accelerated as in the booster and AGS, then circulate in RHIC, where they'll be collided into one another at as many as 6 interaction points. The RHIC's 2.4-mile ring has 6 intersection points where its 2 rings of accelerating magnets cross, allowing the particle beams to collide. The collisions produce the fleeting signals that, when captured by one of RHIC's experimental detectors, provide physicists with important information about the most fundamental workings of nature. So there you have the highlights on the NASA Space Radiation Laboratory, or NSERL, and the Brookhaven National Laboratory's Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider. Again, you can find out more about these analog missions by going to nasa.gov or just Googling NASA analog missions. And you can also find out more about the particle accelerator by going to bnl.gov/NSERL. So this is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Next month, I hope you'll join us for another exciting exploration into NASA analog missions. All right, at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, and you'll see if we have any additional check-ins, and then give us a report on what we can see in the sky tonight over the next couple of weeks.
Right, very good. And this is KE5ICX alternate net control for tonight's Skynet. See, I've got a couple of folks over on Facebook. I got Philip, I got Jamie on here. I don't think I have them checked in, but they are logged in over there. So let me go ahead and ask, is there anyone on frequency who would like to check in? Please give me your call sign name, where you are transmitting from. Please come now.
Kilo Echo 5, Romeo, Marvin in Holland Park.
Justin. Red Oak.
You with a comment?
In Dallas. Hold on, I'm trying to... I'm going to need some help here. I've got KE5RRR, Marvin in Highland Park. I've got Justin in Red Oak. Hold on. I think... I'm not entirely sure. That could be KE5 JUI, I think. Justin, could you give me your call sign again? It got cut off severely.
Oh, Foxtrot 5, India, Victor, Juliet.
Justin, KF5IVJ, I should know that call very well, but I was distracted here. I've got November Papa in Allen, or Allen in Dallas. Could you give your full call again, please?
5 Alpha November Papa.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I got a lot of distractions here. Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa. Alan in Dallas. I've got Glenn, Kilo Golf 5, Quebec X-Ray, India. And Rockwell, you're at the Stars at the Rock. I don't know if you're still there or not. Let me look. I'll go ahead and ask. KG5QXI, Glenn, are you on frequency? I think he was in and out. I think he's on his cell phone over at the Stars on the Rock star party this evening, so he's just checking in or has spotty coverage. Any additional check-ins, please come now. Let me go ahead and continue here. Let's see, earthsky.org/tonight. They have always good stuff, so let me go ahead and give you what they have for this evening. We have from them on August 25th and 26th, that's tonight and tomorrow, everyone around the world except for far northern Arctic latitudes will be seeing a full-looking moon lighting up the nighttime from dusk until dawn in North America. We often call the August full moon the sturgeon moon, green corn moon, or the grain moon. In the southern hemisphere, where it's the opposite season, this is the third and final full moon of winter instead of summer for us. It's very hard to tell when the moon is precisely full, except by looking at it. The moon turns precisely full on August 26th at 11:56 UTC time. That's 6:56 Eastern, Central Daylight. Let's see, but those times indicate only the crest of the moon's full phase. They indicate when the moon is most opposite the sun for this month, or 180 degrees from the sun from the ecliptic longitude. To the eye, on the other hand, the moon appears over 99% illuminated for about a day before and after the full moon. People around the world will regard the moon as full on both August 25th and 26th, and so they should. At the vicinity of full moon, the moon rises in the east around sunset, climbs highest for the night around midnight, and sets in the west around sunrise. So these next few nights, look for the moon in your eastern sky at dusk and your western sky at dawn. The August 2018 full moon does not pass through the anti-solar point, the point that's exactly opposite of the sun, or else this full moon would undergo a total lunar eclipse. That's right. Last month, the full moon did pass through the anti-solar point and through the center of the Earth's dark umbral shadow to stage the longest total lunar eclipse of the 21st century from 2001 to 2100 on July 27th. This August 2018 full moon swings to the south of the anti-solar point and also to the south of the Earth's shadow, so there is no eclipse of the full moon this month. In fact, all the full moons for the rest of 2018 will dip south to the anti-solar point and beneath Earth's shadow. Finally, on January 21st, 2019, the full moon will hurtle a tiny bit north of the anti-solar point, just yet through the northern half of the Earth's dark umbral shadow to feature a total eclipse of the moon. Because this upcoming total lunar eclipse on January 21st, 2019 will not sweep through the anti-solar point, totality will not be as long, only a duration of 62 minutes as it was when the moon crossed the anti-solar point on July 27, 2018, which had a duration of 103 minutes. To be on nighttime side of Earth to see the moon at its instant it turns fall. Let's see. So the bottom line is, sorry, there's a little bit of a distraction in there. The bottom line is on both August 25th and 26th of this year, the brilliant full moon drenches the nighttime with moonlight from dusk until dawn. All right, let me see here. I'm looking at the watch to figure out time here. Let me read you a little bit from the U.S. Naval Observatory. I'm not going to do all of it, but this is what we got. The moon brightens the overnight hours this week as she waxes through her full phase. As the week progresses, she begins to climb northward along the ecliptic, passing a bright, ruddy Mars as she crosses into the barren star fields of the autumnal constellations. August full moon is popularly known as the corn moon, grain moon, and sturgeon moon. Whichever name you choose, the event occurs on the 26th at 7:56 Eastern Daylight. You'll find Luna is just east of Saturn on the evening of the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. You'll find her flanking Mars. 1 year ago, millions of people were treated to the spectacle of a total solar eclipse that spanned the U.S. mainland from Oregon to South Carolina. I was there. I saw it in Kansas. It has been said that this was probably the single most widely observed astronomical event in history, and from my current experience, I have no reason to doubt the claim. And this is not me, this is the guy at the U.S. Naval Observatory. He says, the place where I chose to view the eclipse, Smith Ferry, Idaho, saw its population increase from 70 to over 3,000 people by the time the sun rose on the 21st. Fortunately, the weather in the country was favorable. Almost everyone along the path of experienced the ghostly darkness of moon shadow. I've been fortunate to have witnessed 5 of these amazing events, and I cannot think of any other natural phenomenon that comes close to watching the sun disappear in the middle of the sky. So many phenomena that take place during the few short minutes of totality that it's almost impossible to keep up with them. In addition to the rapid changes in lighting and temperature, the effects of birds and animals is also very remarkable. Prior to 2017, the last total eclipse to cross any part of the lower 48 occurred in 1979. Thankfully, we don't have to wait quite as long for the next one. On April 8, 2024, our next total solar eclipse will trace a path of totality from South Texas northeastward across central Mississippi Valley, then across Lake Erie in Ontario, before traversing northern New England. If you missed that one, you'll have to wait until August 12th of 2045 to see the next one to touch the mainland. Yes, it goes straight through Dallas. The moon washes out most of the fainter stars, especially those that make up the dim constellation of autumn. Trying to identify these star patterns on a dark night is hard enough, but for most of this week, they're effectively invisible. You can still enjoy the bright glow of Arcturus, the signature star of spring evenings, which perches high in the west after evening twilight fades, and the bright stars of the summer triangle nearly overhead at 10 p.m. local time. Continues to slide eastward along the ecliptic. Her path now takes her further south of the celestial equator, and if you've been watching her for the past several months, you'll see that she's slowly sinking towards the western horizon. This week, she closes in on the bright springtime star Spica, and by the end of the week, she will be just over 3 degrees west of the star. Venus will zoom past Spica next week. I'm going to stop. I guess we're kind of behind here, so I'm going to send it back to net control at this point. I forgot, we have a featured constellation first. So let me go back to KF5 PDS from KE5 ICX.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom. And sorry if I ran a little long with my presentation. I may have thrown things off, so I do apologize. If you want to go read more, you can go to the U.S. Naval Observatory website and I usually have what you can see in the sky this week, and you can pick up where Tom left off and read all about the wonderful objects that you can see. All right, this is KF5 PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. At this time, we'll remind you that you can go to w5fc.org to follow along with our next presentation. You can see the sky maps and images. So if you go there now, you'll be able to follow along. So at this time, for our featured constellation, I will turn the net over to Carolyn, KC50ZT. The net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. And tonight we're going to look at Aquila. It's located near the celestial equator and means the eagle in Latin. It represents the eagle of the Roman god Jupiter, and he is identified as the eagle that carried Zeus's thunderbolts. That's in Greek mythology. And the second biggest star constellation in the sky. Looking at some of the major stars, of course, the main one is Altair, the 12th brightest sky at magnitude 0.77. It's an A-type main sequence star and actually has 3 visual companions. And it's close, only 16.8 light years away. It's one of the closest stars to Earth that's visible to the naked eye. It rotates very rapidly. Altair's shape is not spherical, but is actually flattened at the poles. And the star moves across the sky relatively quickly, about a degree in 5,000 years. It's one of the 3 stars that form the Summer Triangle asterism. And of course, as we have mentioned before, the other 2 stars in the triangle are Deneb in Cygnus and Vega in Lyra. An interesting star is Lambda. It's a black, blue, white B-type main sequence dwarf. It's magnitude 3.43. But its claim to fame is that in 1973, NASA launched the probe Pioneer 11 that will presumably approach Lambda in about 4 million years, if all goes well. And of course, the probe left the solar system in 1990 and has not transmitted any data since 1995, but it's headed for Lambda. And we have some interesting deep sky objects. First one I'll mention is a nebula known as the Phantom Streak, NGC 6741. It's a planetary nebula first discovered in 1882. It's about 7,000 light years away. And if you look at the second object, NGC 6709, is a beautiful open star cluster easily resolved in a small telescope. And you can find it about 5 degrees southwest of the star Zeta. And on this, the stars are loosely arranged into a diamond-like shape. Then number 3, NGC 6755, another open cluster. It's It's located 4.5 degrees west of Delta. It's dim. Brightest star's about 12th magnitude. And then this is a weird object. Number 4 goes with a designation B143-4. But it's a dark nebula known as the Triple Cave. It's a dark, like I said, it's a dark nebula more than a degree in size. It's located about 1.5 degrees west of Gamma, which makes it easy to find. And number 5 is NGC 6781. Now this is a beautiful planetary nebula. It's somewhat similar in appearance to the Owl Nebula in Ursa Major, but it's a beautiful sight. And then one of the most well-known is NGC 6751. Another planetary nebula, and if you look at the picture, you can see how it got its name of the glowing eye. It looks just like an eye staring back at you through your scope. So Aquila, it's not known as well as some of the other constellations, but it has some beautiful objects in it. So take a tour through it, and you'll enjoy it. KC50ZT. If there's no questions, I'll turn it back to you, Billy. KC50ZT.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carolyn. Does anyone have any questions for Carolyn before we move on? If so, please come now with your call sign. Not hearing anything, so we'll move on to recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Brenda, WB5OZL. The net is yours.
This is WB5OZL. Well, we're running a little behind, so I'm going to cut this to only one article. The title is, Water Worlds Are Common. Exoplanets May Contain Vast Amounts of Water. Scientists have shown that water is likely to be a major component of those exoplanets, planets orbiting other stars, which are between 2 to 4 times the size of Earth. It will have implications for the search of life in our galaxy. The work is presented at the Goldschmidt Conference in Boston. The 1992 discovery of exoplanets orbiting other stars has sparked interest in understanding the composition of these planets to determine, among other goals, whether they are suitable for the development of life. Now, a new evaluation of data from the exoplanet hunting Kepler Space Telescope and the Gaia mission indicates that many of the known planets may contain as much as 50% water. This is much more than the Earth's 0.02% by weight water content. It's a huge surprise to realize there may be so many water worlds, said lead researcher Dr. Li Xing from Harvard University. Scientists have found that many of the 4,000 confirmed or candidate exoplanets discovered so far fall into 2 size categories. Those with a planetary radius averaging around 1.5 that of the Earth, and those averaging around 2.5 times the radius of the Earth. Now a group of international scientists, after analyzing the exoplanets with mass measurements and recent radius measurements from the Gaia satellite, have developed a model of their internal structure. We've looked at how mass relates to radius and developed a model which might explain the relationship, said Li Xing. The model indicates that those exoplanets which have a radius of around 1.5 times the Earth radius tend to be rocky planets of typically times 5 the mass of Earth, while those with a radius of times 2.5 Earth's radius with a mass of around 10 times that of the Earth are probably water worlds. This is water, but not as commonly found here on Earth, said Li Zing. Their surface temperature is expected to be in the 200 to 500 degrees Celsius range. Their surface may be surrounded in a water vapor-dominated atmosphere with a liquid water layer underneath. Moving deeper, one would expect to find this water transforms into high-pressure ices before we reach the solid rocky core. The beauty of the model is that it explains just how composition relates to the known facts about these planets. Our data indicate that about 35% of all known exoplanets, which are bigger than Earth, should be water-rich. These water worlds are likely formed in similar ways to the giant planet cores, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, which we find in our own solar system. The newly launched TESS mission will find many more of them with the help of ground-based spectroscopic follow-up. The next generation space telescope, the James Webb Space Telescope, will hopefully characterize the atmosphere of some of them. This is an exciting time for those interested in these remote worlds. Well, that's it. Back to Nat, WB5OZL.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Brenda. At this time, I'll turn the net over for space exploration and space history. I'll turn the net over to Tony, NT5TM. The net is yours.
There's a lot going on. I'll try to be very brief. There is, as always, when I'm talking, more details available at w5fc.org. Just please have a look in the Skynet post instead of the TechNet post, since this is, after all, Skynet. Our solar probe is well on its way. The first trajectory correction maneuver was completed this week, and it is now heading for its first Venus flyby, scheduled for October 3rd, 2018. Steve has also been in the news. No, not your friend Steve, or your boss Steve, or your cousin Steve, or your neighbor Steve, but strong thermal emission velocity enhancement. Has long been observed by citizen scientists but has only been attracting professional interest since the late 2000s. New research has made it clear that Steve is not an aurora after all. What is Steve? Well, no one knows for sure. It's a blue-white jet seen high in the air, and it's hundreds of miles long. It's often visible far to the south of where auroras can typically be seen. It has long been speculated that Steve was a form of atypical aurora, but this new data suggests that there are no charged particle streams involved in Steve's formation. The things flowing down from outer space that cause auroras might be causing Steve indirectly, but they're not found where Steve is found. Yes, there might be some sort of unknown phenomenon taking place in the ionosphere, but at least it has a friendly name. NASA's infrared Spitzer Space Telescope turns 15 today. This is the 15th anniversary of its launch. This orbital infrared observatory has observed some of the most distant galaxies in the universe, helped astronomers tease out the details of star formation, and compiled one of the most complete maps of the Milky Way ever constructed. All this according to Space.com. The telescope has also been instrumental in the discovery of a number of alien worlds, including the famous 7 rocky planets circling TRAPPIST-1, commemorated in a NASA travel agency travel poster. If you'd like to combine space exploration with ham radio and a love of history, A special event in honor of Captain James Cook will be on the air this year. Captain Cook's voyage was one of the great exploration feats of the 18th century as he searched for the undiscovered southern continent, but the whole voyage was actually triggered by an urge to learn more about astronomy. 18th century mathematicians had carefully worked out the distances between the planets, but only in relative numbers. They knew that Venus was closer and Jupiter was perhaps 5 times further from the sun than Earth was, but no one knew how to turn any of those relative distances into miles. It was hoped that careful observation of a transit of Venus, which we observed from a club meeting early in the 2000s, would enable the establishment of the true distance scale of the solar system. It turned out to be much harder than anyone expected because of atmospheric refraction phenomena. Venus does not appear as a perfect round dot when crossing or approaching the sun. It appears as a series of different shaped teardrops and blobs. The problem of closely timing a transit of Venus was not solved until the late 19th century. Well, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft, which has been on its way for some time, has spied its target, asteroid Bennu, with its own cameras for the first time. OSIRIS-REx will hopefully be making space history in the future. It's expected to return samples from asteroid Bennu in about the year 2023. My favorite piece of space history this week, engineer Max Faget was born tomorrow, August 26th, in 1921. Max Faget was the designer of the Mercury spacecraft and a major contributor to the design of the Gemini and Apollo capsules. His work also played a substantial part in the creation of the space shuttle. He was also known as the inventor of the launch escape rocket, a quirky American idea that the Soviet space program was at first not interested in, but then later copied so as not to seem backwards. Into the Cold War, Max had a unique opportunity to be thanked by cosmonauts Vladimir Titov and Gennady Strilikov in 2001. Their Soyuz 7K ST spacecraft was pulled from a disastrous launchpad fire on September 26, 1983 by Faget's invention. They are the only astronauts whose lives have been saved by these launch escape rockets. But it's much better to cheat death twice than to not cheat death at all. Other space milestones that happened in August. Back in 1962, Sputnik 2 launched, bringing us the first dog ever to die in space. A great day for biology, but a sad day for Laika. Voyager 2 launched in August of 1977, and there have been a number of other space accomplishments, such as the launch of the ill-fated Ranger 1 spacecraft. Was part of the ill-fated Ranger program, all of whose early probes, Ranger 1 through 6, failed often disastrously. Ranger 1 was, well, part of a series of very important failures. Learned from the series of Ranger spacecraft were lots of important truths about space project management, such as make sure you have reliable launch vehicles, don't put extra instruments you don't need on probes just because they sound cool, and hire really, really, really rigorous managers who make your engineers test everything more than once. Sounds sarcastic there, but this was an important lesson in space history. Aerospace engineers took a very cut-and-try attitude toward their livelihood in the early days of space. They knew that the test pilots would give them a good report of what was wrong, and they would land, and they could take out a wrench and tinker with things after the vehicle landed. It was very difficult to teach engineers that that was not true in space. My last space history item for tonight, and thank you, Tom, for some of these items. I remember this one quite a bit. In this month, back in 1989, in fact, today, back in 1989, Voyager 2 marked its closest approach in its last planetary encounter. The The spacecraft swooped only 3,080 miles above Neptune's north pole, the closest approach it made to any planet since it had left Earth in 1977. Channels of the local cable system here in Dallas were taken up with just displaying raw images as they came back from Voyager 2. They weren't processed, they were full of bizarre engineering notations, but they were really cool because we were seeing them at the same time anyone in all of human history saw them. So, from the days of Ranger 1 to the important contributions of Maxime Faget to the Voyager 2 flyby, that's today, and in fact this week in space history. This is NT5TM.
Great. Thank you, Tony, very much. And thank you for doing space exploration and space history for us. This is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, since we are running pretty close to time, I will go ahead and just give you some information that you can use to check visible satellite passages over the next couple of days for your area. So to do this, you can go to www.heavens-above.com. Again, that's www.heavens-above.com to find out what's in orbit and when you can see visible passages and flyovers of satellites and the International Space Station. So you can just go to that website, heavens-above.com, put in your GPS coordinates or your city and state location, and then you'll be able to check out the visible satellite passages. It will give you such information as the number of degrees and direction where it will start to rise, the maximum height, and where it will leave the sky or go into Earth's shadow. And just remember, with the magnitude, the lower the number, the brighter the object. So negative magnitudes are very, very bright. So have some fun with that. Hope you get to see some good satellite passages, especially of the International Space Station. All right, at this time, I'll return net to my alternate net control to see if we have any final check-ins and get a final head count for this evening's net. This is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
My name is Billye, and this is KE5ICX. I'm alternate net control station for tonight's Skynet. I'll go ahead and take any final check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, your location, and your name. Call sign, name, and location. Now you can do it in any order you want. Please come now.
Star Party.
Juliet, Delta Whiskey with a quick comment. Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie net.
KI5 CHQ, downtown Freddy, downtown Dallas, headed to Fort Worth.
All right, let me hold up here and let me get, see if I can, I had a number of weak stations. I've got someone at the Rockwall Star Party, Sierra Echo, I've got as part of the call. Try one more time, increase power if you can. I think you've tried to get in this evening, but we just can't quite get you. Try one more time.
Alpha Delta 5, Sierra Echo, Chuck and Richardson. November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom and Irving.
Alpha Golf 9, Sierra Golf, Antonio y Nucleus.
Star Party.
Oh my, I may not get everybody because we're reaching the end, but I've got Alpha Delta 5 Sierra Echo, Chuck I've got KI5JHQ over in Fort Worth. I got N5HYP, Tom in Irving. There is another station at the Star Party. Try one more time, please.
Kilo, Foxtrot, 5, Quebec, Delta, Quebec, Kilo, Foxtrot, 5, Quebec, Delta, Quebec. Eric, yours, Star Party.
Hey, I got you, KF5QDQ. Here you over in the Star Party. I've got you checked in. Finally. All right, I got, let's see, everybody else, I think. Did I mess up anywhere? Probably did. Anyone else?
KE5 Triple R.
Wolf, Antonio in Oak Cliff.
I had one final station, and I don't want to take this too long. The last station who tried to check in, I've got Triple R, you're in. Let's see, yes, I got Triple R now. And there was one final station. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Try one more time. Signal's good, I just can't quite get your call. If you would, give it to me phonetically and slowly, please.
Okay, yes, this is Alpha 9, Sierra Golf, Antonio here in Oak Cliff.
I have Alpha Niner Sierra Golf. I'm missing something, I think. One more time. Forgive me here. I'm hard of hearing.
No problem, no problem. This is Alpha Golf 9, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Oak Cliff.
Third time's the charm. I've got Alpha Golf, Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio and Oak Cliff. Thanks, Antonio, for putting up with me. Any final check-ins beyond Antonio? Please come out. Miss Kelly, I have 33 check-ins of Miss Kelly. Jeez. I'll get it right. Miss Billye, I have 33 check-ins. Back to you. KE5ICX.
Copy that, Tom. So tonight we had 33 hams participating on the air. So thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We are always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5 PBS, Billye, and I will be closing the net at 22:34 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. So 73, everyone, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And remember, we will be having Afterglow Movie Net. We'll probably take a few minutes break to get reset, and then come back to us, and we'll discuss Moon. So 73, everyone. This is KF5 PBS.
CX and 5BB. Tom, while we're waiting, can we discuss the movie tomorrow?
Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Probably need to. Please go ahead.
Okay. We've been discussing this over on Echolink, but most of the people on the net aren't on Echolink here. We are going to make a trek over to the Cinemark movie theater, Cinemark 17 and IMAX. This is a movie theater we've visited before. It's located at Webb Chapel at 635, about 1 block south of the DARC meeting location. We're going to see the new 2001 remastered from the original film IMAX 2D movie tomorrow, Sunday, at 11:40 a.m. That's 11:40 a.m. is when the movie starts. So I know that Billye, I'm looking here, Billye, Tom, Randy, and me will be going. The question is, does anybody else plan to go, or does anybody else need more information? Again, this is the 2001 A Space Odyssey, the original 1968, I believe, movie that's been remastered from the original analog film into an IMAX movie. This is the first time it's being shown in, just the last couple of months. So this is the first release of this new IMAX release of 2001. Tomorrow, 11:40 a.m. Anybody have any questions in 5BB? Hi, David. I see your question. You'll have to look that up on the internet. I don't know about the extra footage.
Okay, very good. W5BBB. KE5RRR. So you're going to the 11 o'clock movie?
But I'm not sure about the other. If you look around, the people that produced this new movie were discussing what they did to create it. And we were talking about this a couple of months ago here on this net, but I can't remember the details. I'll be honest.
KE5RRR.
Yes, go ahead.
You're going to the 11 o'clock movie?
There is no movie at 11. It's 11:40.
Oh, and it's not at the Rockwall Cinema. Where is it?
The cinema, the name of the movie house is Cinemax, start over again. Cinemark 17 and IMAX. It's located at Webb Chapel at 635, 1 block south of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting location in 5DB.
Is that in that closed down mall?
No. No closed down mall.
I'm thinking of a different movie house then.
No. This is not near the tollway. This is near I-35. This is at Webb Chapel, which is, I'm guessing, 1 mile east of I-35. I could be wrong. It's on the south side of 635 at the southwest corner of Webb Chapel and 635. If you've been to the Dallas Amateur Radio Club in the last year or two, then it's 1 block south of the hospital where DARC meets. Anyone have any questions in 5BB?
Nope, I'm good. KE5RRR back to net.
All right, let's everybody collect our thoughts. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. We're going to start a little late, but that's okay. KE5ICX. 5 minutes, go powder your noses. Then we come back and talk about Moon from 2009.
So 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, radio check.
Sound good, John. Actually sound very good, so perfect.
Okay, thanks, Tom. I called a couple times during the net. I had a comment to make about Billye's presentation, or after Billye's presentation. I maybe it doubled with somebody or what, didn't know. I guess I'll wait, actually I was going to say I guess it'd be 2 weeks. Trying to think how long it'll be. Yeah, I guess 2 weeks before I can comment again. I'll be back in town. Thanks, sir. Enjoy your evening. K5, J to W.
BB, according to the IMAX website, this release will only be available for 1 week, starting yesterday. So, let's see. I can't find any more details yet inside BB.
This is W5EBB.
Yes?
The information I got was from a web search I did for To the Moon and Beyond, and that led me to a 70 millimeter film site, and from there I got a lot of detail on the variants of these re-released 2001s. I'll find that website and let you know what it is. W5EBB.
Yeah, can you email it to me?
Yes.
Yep, InsideBB@ARL.net works. Randy, I'm not stopping the net. Nope, nothing's happening, so I was commenting about this. Inside BB.
I'll send it as soon as I find it. W5EBB.
To the Afterglow Movie net. This is WV5OZL. I'll be your net control this evening, and we are going to discuss the movie Moon. And I would like for my cohort, Tom, KE5ICX, to give us his usual synopsis. Tom, are you there?
And I am glued to my seat. I will be happy to give the synopsis for Moon 2009. All right, here we go. Our net control is flabbergasted or something. Okay, let's do this. What's the second net? Third net? Second net, yeah. Okay, Moon is a 2009 science fiction film directed by Duncan Jones and written by Nathan Parker from a story by Jones himself. The film follows Sam Bell, played by Sam Rockwell, a man who experiences personal crisis as he nears the end of a 3-year solitary stint mining helium-3 on the far side of the moon, not to be confused with hydrogen-3. It was a feature debut of director Duncan Jones. Kevin Spacey, yeah, that Kevin Spacey, voices Sam's robot companion, Gertie. Moon premiered in 2009 at the Sundance Film Festival and was released in selected cinemas in New York and Los Angeles on June 12, 2009. The release was expanded to additional theaters in the United States on July 10th and the United Kingdom on July 17th. Who cares, right? The Moon was modestly budgeted and grossed just under $10 million worldwide, but it was well received by critics. I agree. Rockwell's performance found praise, as did the film's scientific realism and plausibility. It won numerous film critic and film festival awards, as well as the BAFTA award for Best British Film. So, on to the plot. I'll give you a little bit. In the near future, Lunar Industries has made a fortune after an oil crisis by building Serang Station, an automated lunar facility to mine the alternative fuel helium-3 from lunar soil, rich in the material. The facility is fully automated, requiring only a single human to maintain operations, oversee the harvesters, and launch canisters bound for Earth containing the extracted helium-3. Sam Bell nears the end of his 3-year work contract on Serang Station. Chronic communication problems have disabled his ability and his live feed from Earth and limit him to occasional recorded messages from his wife, Tess, who was pregnant with their daughter Eve when he left. His only companion is an artificial intelligence named Gertie, who assists with the base automation and provides comfort for him. Weeks before his return to Earth, Sam suffers from hallucinations of a teenage girl. One such image distracts him while out recovering a helium-3 canister from a harvester, causing him to crash his lunar rover into the harvester. Rapidly losing cabin air from the crash, Sam falls unconscious. One more sentence. Sam awakens in the base infirmary with no memory of the accident. He overhears Gertie having what appears to be a live chat with Lunar Industries management. Lunar Industries then orders Sam to remain on base and informs him that a rescue team will arrive to repair the harvester. Suspicious, Sam manufactures a fake problem to persuade Gertie to let him outside. He travels to a crashed rover where he finds his unconscious doppelganger. He brings the double back to the base and tends to his injuries. The two Sams start to wonder if one is a clone of the other. After a heated argument and physical altercation, they coerce Gertie into revealing that they are both clones of the original Sam Bell. Gertie activated the newest clone after the rover crashed and convinced him that he was at the beginning of his 3-year contract. I'm going to stop there because this was really intriguing. I'll send it back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
All right, we're going to start taking check-ins. We will start with low power in short time. Please come down with your call sign and your name, and let us know whether or not you have seen this movie. So please come down.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa, Mike and Richardson. I saw about the first 15 minutes. I could not get into this movie. Sorry. KG5P.
November Tango. We have seen the movie more than once.
November 5. Hotel Yankee Papa. Tom, yes, we saw the movie. It's pretty darn good.
Kilo Golf 5, Zulu November Juliet, Frank in Flower Mound. Yes, I saw the movie.
Charlie 5, Oscar Zulu Tango, Carolyn in Louisville. And I did not see the movie, just the trailer. H5OZ2.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra Kilo, Berlin, Dallas. I did see the movie.
This is Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. I did see the movie.
Hello, 5. Julia, Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell. I did not see the movie, and I'll just be monitoring in the background.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billye and Sherman on Echolink. Yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay near Weatherford, and yes, I did see this film. I did it at the same time.
Okay, so we have K5ICX Tom, did see the movie. KG5P Mike, who couldn't stand more than 15 minutes. NT5TM Tony, yes, he and Aaron have seen it. N5HYP Tom, yes. KG5, and I'm not sure about this call. Have it is Zulu November Juliet. Frank, is that correct?
That is correct.
Very good, thank you. KC5OZT Carolyn, who did not see it. And KF5 TSK Burl, who did. W5EBB David, yes. K5 JDW John, no. KF5 PDS Billye, yes. KG5 BZWJ, yes. All right. Any more check-ins? Please go now.
Sierra Echo, Chuck Richardson. I have not seen the movie, so I will be lurking in the background tonight.
it was Alpha Delta 5 Sierra Echo Justin, who did not see the movie. Is that correct?
Roger, Roger. Name is Chuck. I'm in Richardson. Chuck in Richardson.
I'm so sorry. Welcome to the net, Chuck. Okay, any other check-ins?
Randy, KE5JIT as a relay, and he did see the movie and he wants to be checked in, but we have to fight over the radio, so put him in, KE5ICX.
Okay, KE5JIT Randy, welcome to the net. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Well, Tom, you did the synopsis, so that was, to me, tantamount to checking in. We're going to let you be first. So KE5ICX, please come now with your comments about the plot.
I'll do that, Miss Brenda, and thank you for being net control this evening. I do have a Blu-ray copy of this movie, but I never really watched it. I actually watched it on Netflix the other night. I think it was Thursday night, which surprised me because I wanted to see the movie. I'd heard good reviews about it, but had never really decided to pick up and watch it until after it was decided that this was the movie. So with that being said, I think really one of the cool things about this movie is that the atmosphere, I'll start with this, the atmosphere is very convincing. As you know, I'm a super space buff. I love space stuff. I get the moon thing very well, and the whole film just starts out that way. It's very convincing that he is on the moon. Moving forward with the plot, it plays out like a very good episode of The Twilight Zone. There's a strange thing that happens, and then there is a version of the same person going out and finding a second person, doppelganger. That has been done in Twilight Zone on more than one occasion, and this reminds me of one of the episodes, can't remember the name of it right now, but you have to second and third guess yourself. That's always something that happens when there's a loop with a doppelganger. And this actually worked quite well. I thought that given the atmosphere and the feeling that the character was completely isolated and trying to figure things out. Let me reset. But a really good, typical bare bones Twilight Zone response. This would be something that you would, from that show, and it definitely draws you in. It gives you a feeling of separation, but at the same time conflict and trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Those are my favorite stories. That is definitely where this movie was going, and I really, really enjoyed that. I thought I won't go into the acting and all of that, but I think there's a somewhat feeling of morose, maybe, at the same time indifference. Oh, wait, that's my job. Never mind. There's an incredible conflict going on, and under level thing going on with it. I usually enjoy other folks going first because they can kind of conceptualize this and then I can pull it forward because I'm not that smart of a guy. But I gotta say, I really enjoyed this film a heck of a lot. So I'll wait for others and then I'll interpose later. So back to you. World Control, KE5ICX.
Righty, NT5TM Tony, give us your comments, please.
thing. This movie won a special award that I rarely give out. We have Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Screenplay and all that sort of thing. But in common with Being John Malkovich, this movie won a special Academy Award, not recognized by the real Academy, that I give out called Best Original Premise. Does a great job of tackling a unique situation. So often, if we were to meet a character 3 years ago and then a character today, kind of old Sam and new Sam we might call them, well, we'd have to have a montage or flashbacks. But no, here we have them both present at the same time in the same place. It's a really unique and unusual situation. Tom spoke about the Twilight Zone weirdness of it. Aaron compared it to the original Tarkovsky Solaris. This movie, it is actually a very science fictional movie because we don't get, ray guns, we don't get violence. We get is discovery and learning, and the plot handles a very interesting and unusual kind of discovery very well. I'll have a lot more comments when we get to characters, and then later when we can add more tidbits about the movie. But for now, I just wanted to say that the plot is, well, actually I have one more thing, but the plot is very original. I'll say before we get to character is that it's kind of a trope that our creations always turn on us and technology is always bad. But in this movie, we have the rebellious computer who rebels for the sake of justice and compassion. He's tired of taking care of his pets, these short-lived humans, who he always has to kill and then vacuum up their ashes. Instead of a computer who goes on a rampage and executes the whole crew of the Discovery, we have the computer who carefully manipulates the humans into learning the truth and trying to fight the good fight. In a lot of ways, this is really Gertie's movie, not Sam Bell's, because Gertie, the computer whose face we never see except as emojis, is the one who is moving things forward and making the action go. So it's a really original plot, and it's really great to see some science fiction patterns turned on their head. NT5T.
Thank you, Tony. Interesting comments. N5HYP Tom, go ahead.
N5HYP. Yeah, we watched the movie last night, and plot-wise, it started a little bit slow. Anna goes, well, here we go, another movie. Why in the world is there only one guy there? What happens when he gets hurt? It just kind of, at first, and I can kind of see where Mike, said he couldn't deal with it after 15 minutes because it did start slow. It did feel like, well, boy, this is going to be predictable. But no, it really wasn't predictable. It was great science fiction because of the fact that it deals with more than just wars and ray guns and aliens. It deals with a lot of things about what makes a person a person. In that, it was very nicely done. Wasn't done on a lot of budget. By the way, the director, Duncan Jones, is David Bowie's son. And it was his directing debut. And it was done on a rather small budget. And it was done during a writer's strike, I read on IMDb. And so there were a lot of special effects people that were bored, and they ended up helping on the movie. Probably made it a little better than it was, than it would have been for $5 million. But no, the story was really good, and it did just, it grabbed you as time went along, and that's what makes good science fiction. It makes you think. It turns things on their ear a little bit. And we thoroughly enjoyed it. This N5HYP back to net.
Good. Okay, KG5ZNJ Frank. Do you have some comments?
Yeah, this movie was real interesting. It started off very weak, and like Mike said, I was watching it for about 20 minutes, and I was ready to put my foot through the TV because I just didn't like it. I thought at first it was a silent running ripoff, if you remember that old movie, and then they had the horrible HAL 9000 with emoji face, and it sounded like some scrub or stagehand was voicing it, and it was very irritating. And just about the time he used a clapper to turn off the Bewitched reruns, I was ready to just trash it. And then he had the Space Zamboni that mows the surface of the moon dust for the HE3 fusion power. I thought that was just so bad. And then everything turned around, and they throw in this plot twist where the guy finds his own clone, and the whole first 20 minutes was like a fake out, I think almost done on purpose. And it really lulled you into thinking it was a bad movie, and then it just turned into this great movie. And what else? I mean, it had this narrative of mass corruption of these super corporations that clone people and enslave you in a faraway place where they can hide it. And they were hiding it from the Earth because, just the thought that this clone had survived when he should have, they had a guy with a rifle show up. So, it was a dirty secret. So that to me was very interesting. Another little thing, it was like a really good Twilight Zone, that's for sure. A major plot device was radio technology, which to all of us, that's pretty cool. They had to drive far away to get away from the jammer, and mess around with radios. So that was kind of fun. The art direction and the set and all that was really good. That was a very convincing space station. Other than the moon gravity was wrong, but what are you going to do on a low budget for that? So I really liked it, and the plot twist was great, and it was a sleeper. I would have thought it was a terrible movie, and I toughed it out, and it turned into a great movie. And I also liked the computer was in conflict with itself. To me, it was an AI that was self-learning, and it had somehow figured out right from wrong, and it started changing. So, yeah, big thumbs up, liked it.
Z&J, were you finished?
Yeah, sorry, I let go of the transmitter early. Yes, I'm done.
Alrighty, well, this is WV5OZL for ID. Okay, Caroline, KC5OZT, I know you didn't see it, but do you have any comments?
Not really. I did read in Wikipedia the story of it, and wonder how long that has been going on, but I guess big businesses, they didn't care about it just seemed depressing to me, just reading the story, that they would do somebody like that, KC5OZT.
SK Burl, go ahead.
This is K5TSK. I had two thoughts on the movie. It's really about the clones, and it was about this human being all alone. And, I kept looking at him, when he would eat, it was like, well, here's this plastic package with this meat and whatever, and it was like, almost like he was eating MREs, for, I guess, the 3-year period. The question is he an astronaut or a miner? That's my initial comments. K5TSK, back to that.
This N5H4P, you forgot KG5P's comments, even though he didn't really watch the whole movie.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I hadn't realized he said he only watched 15 minutes. I figured he did not want to comment. But please go ahead, KG5P, if you have something to say.
Thank you, Brenda. No, actually, I don't really have much because I never really got into it. It appeared the music was done by Quincy Jones. I think I saw that coming across in the titles. It sounds like from some of the comments that it turned out to be pretty good, so maybe I'll give it another shot. Back to net, KG5P.
Alrighty, so W5EVB, David, you're up next.
Well, I thought this was a really good movie. I did see it once before when it first came out on DVD, and but I really appreciated it a lot more after I saw it last night. That's probably because the clone that first watched it, or maybe that was my original, I don't know. He just didn't have as much of a knack for good movies as I do. I think I'm the original. He was the clone, but I don't know how that could work. Having the foresight of knowing the plot, I could appreciate more some of the inside jokes and some of the nuances from start to finish. For example, in one of the opening scenes, he's on the treadmill, and he's wearing a T-shirt that says, "Wake me up at quitting time," which was kind of a computer pointer to a different version of himself to wake up. I agree. The Gertie character was very good, and one of the rare cases where we see an artificial intelligence actually taking the individual side, and it was just a matter of the humans asking the right questions at the right time in the right way to make it justifiable to that intelligence, and it ended up pretty well. And I appreciate that the movie did not turn into an action, shootout when the rescue ship was about to arrive, and things wrapped up way before then. So I think that was a good part. It just focused on the character and the story, and it was very. Let me reset. Once you got into the movie, the single character or duality, you could focus entirely on the story. There wasn't a lot of irrelevant special effects and action and dialogue. It was all tight and relevant and compelling. It was a good movie. W5EBB.
Okay. Let's see. KF5JDW. You didn't see the movie. My understanding is you don't want to make comments, correct? I believe he said he was just going to listen. KF5PDS, Billy, go ahead.
Real quick, I'm just going to stick around in the background. I'm actually in another room from the radio. That's my portable. K5JDW.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Brenda. I love this movie, and I had started watching it a while back and got sidetracked, had to put it down and turn it off and go do other things. And then today was the first day I went back, and I just started it from the beginning, watched it all the way through. I can see how you might bail on it because it is very slow at the beginning. I think to make the boredom and the repetitiveness of the daily life, to suck us into that world and start making us feel the way the character feels, and you have to tough it out. So for those that didn't see it or watched very little of it, push through that barrier because it does pick up and get very, very interesting, and really turns out to be a wonderful film. So definitely give it a second watch or a first watch if you didn't get a chance to see it. Highly recommend this film. Yeah, the plot starts out slow, but I think that's deliberate to hit home the isolation and just the repetitive boredom of the life. You know, after you've been there 3 years by yourself, it just becomes a very repetitive, just day-to-day existence. So I think they did a good job of, you know, bringing us into that. And you have to stay with it because the character has to stay with it. He's got to stay there. So stay with the film, and you won't be disappointed. And I love all the nuances. Anytime you try to do a film where there's very little cast members, to me it's very difficult to pull that off and make it engaging. You know, like Alien only had like 7 or 8 characters. It was like a one-act play. And this, to me, kind of has that feel also. And I loved all the homage to all the 70s, 60s, and 70s sci-fi films like Silent Running, someone mentioned, and I love that film. And, you know, and Clint Mansell is the one who did the music. I would love to get the sheet music on that. I know we'll probably talk about music later, but all the different nuances. This is a movie you could go back and watch and rewatch and pick up on all kinds of small details. It's just chock full of small details. And I'll just, someone already mentioned the shirt, which I loved. One of the other things I noticed was the alarm clock. When he first, it plays the song called The One and Only, and at first it feels like, you know, it seems simpatico because he's there by himself, but then after we learn about the cloning aspect, that alarm clock playing The One and Only becomes highly ironic, and so there's duality even in the small nuances of the film, which I think Duncan Jones did that brilliantly. And for $5 million, filmed over 33 days, you know, and, you know, during a writer's strike, he was able to get a lot of special effects talent on the film. So I think that you know, we'll talk about set design, all that later, so I'll reserve those comments for later. But I thought the characters and the plot worked well. Once it got going and became engaging, it moved well, and to me, never had any gaps or sags in the pace of the thing. So I really enjoyed it. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5 PDS. Back to now.
Okay, K25BZWJ, go ahead.
This is KG5BZW. Yeah, I agree with a lot that's been said. This is definitely, in fact, I'd even put it on one of my list of favorite sci-fi films. Yeah, even though I've only watched it twice. The first time I watched it, I don't know if there was something about it just spoke to me a lot of different ways. Maybe not exactly intentional to the film, but oh gosh, I don't want to get rambly here again. I mean, tight plot, slow beginning. That does seem to be deliberate, as Billye put forth. But yeah, the turnaround and just it's introspection, but not interior introspection. It's such a weird kind of funny thing. I just the whole. I guess I've always been a fan of things where you kind of question one's identity, and this is definitely a film about that. Oh gosh, I don't know that I can say much more that hasn't already been said. I will just leave that. I think the ending montage of voices is probably of the news reports and whatnot. Maybe probably the most exciting montage of or audio montage. Maybe it's not. I don't know how you would call it that, but that might be the best use of it. I mean, I won't say it's the best montage ever, but it's one of the most exciting I've montages I've ever encountered. I just love how it just kind of unfolds from there, and you're kind of your imagination's left running like the guy that had just left the moon. KG5 BZW.
Alrighty, 85 SE. Chuck did not see the movie, but do you have comments? Not. Okay, KE5 JIT Randy. Getting the message that he has no comments at this time. Okay, well, I will make my comments. I love this movie. It is just riveting and fascinating, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I love Sam Rockwell. He was just amazing in it. But there are a couple of things, to me, I don't know if it's a plot hole, but you really have to suspend disbelief that anybody would send a person into solitary confinement for 3 years, and why any guy with a wife and kid would take that job is completely beyond me. If you want to punish somebody, you put them in solitary. And you just start thinking, what if he gets hurt? What if, how does he keep his sanity? I would think you wouldn't try this with less than maybe half a dozen people, so that there would be some kind of a social system and something for people to do. Carving little figurines is just not my idea of entertainment. This wouldn't be for me. I would be dead pretty soon if I had to be in solitary for 3 years, believe me. But, of course, that's what the story was about. You had to do that. And then you do wonder at the end, when he goes back and breaks open the scandal, what would happen next? Would they go back and get the nuke, bring them back to Earth, or what would be the repercussions for this outpost at that point? It'd be an interesting other movie. All right. Okay, let's talk about the characters. KE5ICX, you're up.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. Actually, I really appreciate your previous comments because it gave me a lot of questions to ask in this segment. One of them is that Sam is a clone. We know that. However, how could the corporation, send him out into space or create a clone and allow that to happen? Allow him to be alone, to be in solitary confinement and all of that. Well, I'm thinking about it this way, and that is that how much does it cost to create a clone? Especially one that's done and mined on the moon. Is it cheaper? Apparently it is for this company, whose logos are everywhere that you can imagine. I guess that's so that everybody can see that there are logos everywhere and that the company is ubiquitous. So that is kind of interesting. Is it sadistic to leave the guy there? Oh, he's just a clone. He's just a clone. Nobody cares. 3 years, he's gone. Gee, that sounds like Batty from Blade Runner. Definitely has those capabilities, and in fact, this is the other side of Blade Runner in a certain way. Why would a clone, in this case, or a replicant, want to go back to Earth? I don't know. To be human? That might have something to do with it. I thought that had something to do with it. Family? Create a family. Let me reset. the guy with him to keep him motivated, to keep him working, to keep making sure that the harvesters are doing what they're supposed to do. That makes sense. After all, in 3 years, he's deep sixth anyway, so nobody cares because we've got tons of them available. Sadistic? Sure. Hell, I'm in my office and they won't turn up the temperature in my office and it's cold. Do they care? No. Oh, it's getting personal. They don't. And by the way, let's see. Do we do this to animals? Sure, we put them in little tiny environments similar to this habitat. And do we expect them to have feelings? No. All right, I'm going to stop now because I actually kind of get this a lot. KE5ICX.
Miss Tom. KG5P, Mike, what do you have to say?
We don't really have anything to add, so I'll just sit there and listen to your conversation. But thank you for including me. KG5P.
We may have lost Tony temporarily. We will circle back to him in a little bit. N5HYP, Tom, go ahead.
This is N5HYP. Thank you, Brenda. I was a little bit frustrated with the Gertie character, the AI robot. Basically, at first, and I think this is probably one of the things that probably drove Mike nuts, was the emojis. And the fact that, again, Gertie sounded, we're talking characters here, Gertie kind of sounded like Hal 9000 from 2001. You guys are going to go, who are going to go see that movie tomorrow, you're going to go, okay, they really kind of imitated that style there. But I guess that's kind of what we're sort of familiar with robotics. Was also, well, and we'll get about this later, and I may not be around for later on, so I'm going to just make a mention. They did a lot of homages in 2001. The classical music that showed up occasionally, the musical themes kind of felt 2001-ish. Sam Rockwell's playing of Sam Bell was interesting, and to me it was interesting. I mean, basically, you had two Sams. Sam playing Sam Clone 5 and Sam Clone 6. It was interesting how they did that. They actually had a fight scene. So that was really quite an interesting cinematic bit. So that's what I've got for now. This is N5HYP, back to net.
Okay, KG5ZNJ, Frank.
This is KG5ZNJ. Yeah, I agree. I think Gertie should maybe not have been something like a bad Hal imitation. Maybe something original. I don't know what, but just something different and original that would have really put the movie over the top if they could have come up with a Gertie character that was as memorable as Hal, but original. The other thing is, the more I think about it, I don't think those were clones. mean, yeah, they were clones, they were manufactured, but a clone is an exact copy genetically. And what I saw between those two clones, quote unquote, were they had very different genetic traits. They had different personalities totally. You know, one was very, very meek and goofy, and the other one was ultra aggressive. And I think that, you know, they were modeled after an existing astronaut, and neither of these clones could have been astronauts. They don't have the right personality traits for it. So to me, that means that the company involved was messing around to try to get it right, to breed the perfect slave, is what I think was going on, and they were experimenting with it. And I also found it very interesting that they degenerate. They have a short lifespan, and I don't know if that was by design or a case of they had one too many copies going on. But yeah, the characters were interesting because they had different personalities. So it was really cool. That's all I got for now. This is KG5ZNJ, back to net control.
C5OZT, Carolyn.
I really don't have anything to add. KC5OZT.
KF5TSK, Burl.
This is KF5TSK. Well, I always wondered why Sam 1 was always bloody. Even when he washed his face, he was still bloody. I thought Gertie was convincing. You know, as a character that, you know, I'm your psychoanalyst. I'm here to help you. One of the things I thought was strange was the tooth in the clone. He pulled out the tooth, and it was like, he looked at it, and it was like, oh, well, that's your memories. Well, you need to put it back in. So, KF5TSK, back to net.
W5EBB, David.
What does it be like to meet your clone? I mean, that's kind of the essence of the story, and Sam Rockwell does a really good job of playing the two different clones, and each having a different personality very well. It would be like finding a twin that you never knew you had, but the time shift makes a big difference. The 3 years between the first Sam Bell in the movie and the freshly awakened one is the reason for the difference in personality. And that's the core of the story, I think. You know, the older Sam Bell is lonely, needy, silly, dancing, joking, and physically deteriorating, not just from the accident, but anyone who knows about making human clones is that the DNA replication has many more errors, especially when parts of you are damaged. Your mind deteriorates faster. Your tissues deteriorate. They don't reproduce the cells as accurately, and so they have a limited lifespan, also known as clone disease. Okay, that's fictional, but you get the point. But the freshly awakened Sam was like he was as the original at that checkpoint in time. Arrogant, unemotional, serious, physically fit, with a cocky attitude, and Tom Cruise glasses wearing, Top Gun attitude. But that ameliorates over time as they interact, and you see the change. The new Sam becomes compassionate as he sees his other clone, start to go downhill, and they cooperate, and of course they fight. Of course you would fight because you have a personality clash, and who would want to see, what you are now compared to 3 years before or after? You may not like yourself. You may not like seeing yourself at that stage. It's like, why aren't you doing this or this? Why aren't you like me? So the fighting part was just about expected. But to suddenly discover that, your life is not your own, but it's just a rewind, resume, and play of someone else's, they actually handled that very well, I think. Now, as to the question, why are there so many? I mean, there were at least 100 clones down there. It's not just because it's the reduction in cost of having to train a new human to do the job every time. It's also a huge risk reduction because they know the clones can perform the task completely and deterministically, and they provide a limited, sparse, constant environment, even the same old TV programs for each new clone. No novel experiences from one clone to the next that might cause a cognitive drift from the baseline that is desired. So that's probably the main reason why they had so many. And they had to, again, when you clone, you start to get errors. The DNA doesn't replicate properly from one generation to the next. So they had to make many clones of the original. W5EBB.
Interesting. Okay, up next, KF5 TDS, Billye.
Yeah, those were all great comments, and that was what I was going to comment on too. Was you're seeing the fresh clone versus the clone that's lived for 3 years and has softened over those years. I have the exact. I wholeheartedly support those comments because I was thinking the same thing. And you can also, it's reinforced by when the first clone that we see is listening to the transmission from the wife, and she even says that. Something about the 3 years of them being apart, him being there, has been good for him. So that, again, reinforces that he must have been very aggressive and very hot-headed when he left to go to that moon station. And then, because she commented that it was good for him to be there, I guess, to help him kind of mellow out and lose that hard edge and become a little more humble and a little more, little, I don't know, I wouldn't say more human, but warmer and I guess more appreciative human being, because he, says he's lonely and he wants to reach out to the new clone. He's like, won't you just shake my hand? He wants that human contact. And so I was feeling the same way. And yeah, I thought it was quite sinister. Seeing all those hundreds of clones, those bays really makes you feel that the disposable nature. The corporation has just cloned this guy for however many clones, for years. It's going to be decades worth of clones, and they're just disposable. They've got this 3-year shelf life, and when they get to the end of their run, notice they're all sick. I think they're exposing them to some kind of radiation to make them sick, so that their life ends at 3 years, and they climb into that chamber at the end. And I thought, I got chills when he shut that thing, and you saw the screen come on with the final message to the clone saying, on your journey home, think about all the hard work you've done. But, ultimately they're not going home. I mean, that to me was just totally evil. And trying to, perpetuate this lie. They've got these memories that were created. If you watch the wife on the screen, you can tell there's someone else there, and she's telling the daughter what to say. So it's all scripted, and they're just perpetuating this huge lie. Just so that the corporation can continue to use this person's clone just as a disposable commodity. And that just really is, I guess just shows, talking about the ideals, the philosophy of life, the preciousness of life, and, how, industry can, suck that out of the world. And it just really, and you see that, like Tom mentioned, Blade Runner, and you see that in Alien as well, and you also see it in other films like Prometheus, They have the corporation-driven research where the people are just tools, and the dehumanizing factor of, the corporation. And this movie, pulls that in and uses that to great effect. It also, there was a comment that Tom made about, cloning things, and it reminded me of a movie that came out 9 years earlier in 2000 called The Sixth Day, which would also be a very good movie to watch with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I think that's more, more action-packed, but it also has the same thing where everything in the world can be cloned, but still human. In that movie, human cloning is illegal, but there pops up a clone of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then the plot drives from there. But this, they don't talk about cloning other objects, but here we're cloning humans just like it's no big deal, and that, desensitizes and, dehumanizes. And just seeing him wanting to live a life, wanting to go home to Earth to build a life, in exerting him, humanity, asserting his humanity, to me that was very poignant and a very strong message. So that's all I can think of. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5PDS, back to net.
Okay, great comments. Okay, KC5BZWJ, go ahead.
Sorry, this is KG5BZW. Yeah, I love comments. A lot of interesting comments so far. I wanted to bring light to two things. Let me reset. Okay, first of all, so we have Gertie, and Gertie is kind of an annoying figure with, yes, the kind of silly emoji icons for the faces and whatnot. It's I think it's interesting just watching it try to express itself, and yes, it may be annoying just to see that it's kind of borrowing from 2001's HAL. It also kind of borrows from, the bots of today, where we have, chat bots which automatically have a script, or like I forgot his name. Brought up the Eliza. It may not a little bit more advanced than that, but I kind of thought that his constantly, it's like his reactions. I'm going to call Gertie a he. I'm not sure what you would gender a robot here, but yeah, the fact that he always responds, but doesn't quite seem to respond to the question is kind of interesting aspect to the movie itself, and it's also interesting aspect to how the Sam characters kind of make of that what they will. Now let me reset and go to point 2. My second point is the fact that effectively we've got Sam being catfished. We've got it's a little bit more advanced catfishing than what happens in Facebook, where you just have maybe a few images of a person, a kind of a clone, like a clone account, and they have some weird interaction. But we've got some interesting. I don't know how convincing it is in reality of how that story, how the interactions could be pulled off to where Sam could think for 3 years he's still reacting to messages immediately. The fact that they're, it is not live interaction, it's obviously rendered in some way, some script, something. Not quite sure. They don't really go into the details, but that's just the idea itself is kind of interesting. Now, as far as the character of the wife, I don't think that it's all that convincing, but it's not supposed to be convincing because you're supposed to notice some things, like when Sam notices there's he seems to react to when the video gets spliced. Well, it is chopped and spliced together. There's a lot of that in this film. Those kind of just off. Something's off about this, and all. Yeah, that's. I had some other comments about. I'm taking too long at these two, so I'm going to turn it back over to Annette. This is KG5BGW.
Good comments. 85 SE. Oh, no, he did not want to say anything. K5JIT. I think he doesn't have any comments either. Okay. I didn't realize when the movie started that Kevin Spacey had done the voice of the robot. And then I read about it. They asked him to do it, and he was reluctant. And he waited till the movie was all done. He said, I'll do it if I like the movie. And he loved the movie. And so he sat down and recorded all the entire movie in half a day. So it definitely sounds like Kevin Spacey. And he did an excellent job. And you look at the emojis, my first thought was, oh, give me a break. And then I thought, finally, it was it really added to, sometimes a ridiculous thing in the middle of something really serious and grave. It's like a jarring counterpoint. It kind of adds to the drama of it all to have something silly right in the middle of something really serious. So I kept watching for those and seeing what they were going to do next. All right. Well, it's quite late, but we can keep going as long as you guys want to. I think we'll talk about special effects. So, or whatever you want to talk about. So K5 ICX. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Ms. Brenda. As was mentioned earlier, as far as the special effects were concerned, everything looked very real. My only criticism would be the 1G gravity, but you would expect that in a relatively low-budget film. Otherwise, everybody would be bouncing around and doing other things. But other than that, I would say that the film looked visually great. I loved it. Everything about it just seemed to just click as far as what you would expect from a moon base. Now, my only negative comment would be the fact that this thing is huge. The whole base is huge for one person. What are they going to do there in all of that space? If it's a clone, you're going to put them in a smaller space. That part I thought was kind of strange. They could have reduced it, but then we all would have been in this movie in this claustrophobic environment. We didn't want them to be in a prison, or a cell, even though that's what it was in the end. Maybe that falls into one of the other things that one of my favorite series, The Prisoner, where the characters were in a prison on an island somewhere, and it wasn't a cell, but it was definitely a prison, and the doors opened and closed like cells. Wait a minute. I just realized that was the whole point of the damn thing. I missed that over the last 50 years. So it makes sense that they would make accommodations for the audience, but at the same time make it for what it is, which is truly a bad place to be, and that only clones would be there. So the more I think about this film, and I think this is one of the greatest things about good cinema, is you keep thinking about it, you keep learning new things, and you keep reevaluating, just like the characters do through the process. Let me reset. One of the fantastic things I enjoy about this net is the fact that people bring in different ideas and different processes of thinking, I guess. I'm trying to figure out the words for it, but different psyches, I guess, into the thing. Perspectives, that's what I'm looking for. Perspectives as to what the heck people are going to do in these motion pictures. And it's always a metaphor for ourselves, of course, but I think it's really cool that you can take it and put something like this, putting somebody on the moon and be able to bring that all together. One of the comments that came out I thought was really interesting was, and I think it was EBV, David mentioned it, talking about the very new and the very old. The latest clone comes into perspective, comes into being while the old clone is there. And it reminds me of something I had seen at the Dayton Air Museum, Air and Space Museum, having to do with the guy who comes in. He's the new recruit. He ends up on the base, and he's ready to go, and he's smiling, got a great face. And then as his tour of duty drags on, he ends up looking worn down and stubbled and ready to get the heck out of there. And it's a progressive cartoon figures as he gets worn down and tired and all of that. And then finally the last picture is the next recruit who comes in, and he's just as happy and grinning and spit and polish and all of that. That's obvious in this. Let me reset. So there's a lot of the whole, I don't know, whole grind. We all end up in that, I think, and me more recently than ever been before. You got to take that for what it is, and then the empathy and sympathy that goes along with it, and then the, I don't know, the rebellion that may go along with it too. I think this film has multiple layers in it that scream metaphor, scream acknowledgement of our situation in that. I think that's really, really interesting. I'll stop now because if I don't, I'll go on forever, and then people will come to my house and probably egg it. Back to you, Net Control. KE5I6.
Nobody would do that. Okay, KG5P. Mike, do you have any comments?
No, thank you, Brenda. I'm just, actually I'm watching the movie right now, so continue, and I'll just read the mail, KG5P.
Okay, we'll enjoy it. NT5TM, Tony, are you still with us?
actually didn't hear you say my call sign last round, just to Kerchunk, and then there was no chance for me to recheck at any point. So I've saved up quite a few comments whenever you're ready.
Actually, I have 2 checks by your name like everybody else's. This is our 3rd round, and I believe you made 2 comments. It's just we have a lot of people, and everybody is talking a lot, so it's this is taking a long time, but go ahead.
I'm certain I wasn't called on. You even commented on the fact that I seem to be missing for some reason. I'm going to go in reverse order here with some comments on effects and atmosphere. The movie just is full of homage. We see things that remind us of 2001, like with the COM and NAV labels on things that resemble the 3-character COM, NAV, ENG, so forth labels that we saw in 2001. Corridors and hatch shapes that looked like they were copied directly from Alien. And something Aaron loved in effects that was really very simple but very effective. Not just in movies, it so often looks like they've applied cobweb spray in a grime blower. No, this grime, Aaron was really struck by how the grime on the suits and the buttons and things looked like it was all from realistic use, from people working in this spacesuit and entering their passcode into the keyboard and setting things down on the table, that she thought the grime was a very apt, very practical, and really nice, realistic special effect. Round 2 comments. There were a lot of very striking things. Aaron had quite a few, and I had 1 or 2. When Sam realizes that, when he makes that call from past the jammers, and he cries about wanting to go home, and it's not even clear he knows where home is because everything has been a lie. When Sam 6 carries Sam 5 into the wrecked rover, it reminded Aaron a great deal of the Pieta. Sam 6, who wouldn't shake Sam 5's hand, has grown some under pressure, even though he started off so arrogant and fairly unpleasant. You can see why his wife wanted him gone. He's learned a little tenderness. Moving when Sam 5 gets to see Sam 6 streaking towards the Earth is because it's an important experience that really touched both of us, because it was real. It was something that was not a lie. It was not just routine, but it was something actual and important that happened that Sam 5 really got to participate in, and that was a real special moment. Moment, it shows that Sam 5 has really truly accepted that he is a clone, and they're all clones and all the same person. When he tells Sam 6, I couldn't kill him and put him in the rover, so you can't either. It's also interesting, on the other hand, Aaron really noticed that, Sam 5, because he was there alone, he just wasn't confronted by the evidence of being a clone, that he really was more brainwashed. That brainwashing, that catfishing, as was very aptly said earlier, was really effective. That Sam 6 was able to grasp much more quickly that the world was fake because he hadn't been reprogrammed as much. As Aaron says, quoting, Tess wouldn't do that to me. Tess would have told me, or Tess would tell me. Of course, Tess is just edited, glitchy recordings. And one thing that I wondered, because, we've talked about solitary confinement in prison and how awful a job this would be, and wondering why there even would be one human there. I've kind of speculated to myself that maybe the AI needed a pet, that maybe whatever model of AI they used, maybe it was imported from Earth and needed someone to take care of. So they had to give that person a little make work to do, fetching things from the rovers, but that really he was the AI's companion, that he was there to keep the AI sane, and that the health of the clone was actually kind of just a pretext. So that's my round 2 and 3. This is NT5TM.
Okay, sorry about that. I did call on you, and then you didn't come back. So I don't know if it you didn't hear it or it didn't go through or what. But I put checks so I don't skip people. So that's why you have a check, because I had called on you. But like I say, you didn't come back, so I wasn't sure whether you had stepped away or for a moment or what. Anyway, thank you for your insightful comments. They're wonderful. N5HYP, Tom, go ahead. Must have gone away. KG5ZNJ, Frank, go ahead.
This is KG5ZNJ. I think it, just a thought, it would have been pretty cool if the clone would have talked over the radio system to, his original host that they made him from, who's probably, I think it was 15 years older. And that almost happened, but it didn't happen. And to me, it might have been interesting if they would have spoke to each other and the original person would have been in total shock and disbelief, like that he would have not have even known that this had happened, that he'd been cloned. That would have been kind of cool, but it didn't happen. And that's all I got for me, and I'm going out. KG5ZNJ.
KC5OZT, Caroline, go ahead.
I can admit, it does sound like an interesting movie if I can find it somewhere besides Netflix. I'm going to watch it, but I didn't have time last night to go searching for it. KC5OZT.
Okay, KF5TSK, Burl.
This is KF5TSK. I really don't have anything else to add. I enjoyed the movie. I thought the special effects were good for what they did, but the movie cost $5 million, and I think it made something like $5,997,000. So everyone thought it was a great movie, but not that many people went to see it. K5TSK, back to net.
David, W5EBB, what do you have to say now?
The special effects were good. The photography was excellent, I think. Even when you had the expansive scenery, with the sun in the periphery, you had the internal lens reflection and of colorful spheres all lined up in hexagons from the internal lens reflection and the aperture. It really added to the breadth and realism of the scenery. But the camera shots from the surface of the moon with the background of space in the frame, they got that wrong, because you see stars, a whole lot of them, dim ones, bright ones, and we know from the Apollo missions and its footage that this is incorrect. The only thing in space you can see from the camera viewpoint on the surface of the moon is total darkness, or total darkness and the Earth, but that's it. Now, this movie kind of reminded me of some recent T-shirts that were popular a few years ago, and Facebook post that says, "I woke up like this," and they show a picture of themselves. And this movie in context gives that a little bit of a spin of different meaning, perhaps. If you look at an Oreo cookie package now, you'll see made in Mexico, produced with genetic engineering, Mondelez International. Now, if you were to take a tour of that plant in Mexico, I'm wondering if you would find a bunch of Sam Bells with white caps watching cookies as they zip by on conveyor belts. W5EBB.
Interesting. Okay, next is KF5PDS, Billye.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really have much to add except I really loved the music. I think the solo piano, really heightened the emotion and just I don't know, the loneliness and just, being a solo instrument just really sounded good. It makes me want to look up the sheet music for that because it was really beautiful. It'd be fun to play. I don't know. I really don't have any other comments. I'm getting pretty tired. So just, again, like to say thanks for whoever volunteered this film. It was a great one to watch, and look forward to the film that we're going to do next week. So this is KF5PDS. I'll return it to you.
I'm BZWJ.
This is KG5BZW. So, I agree with Billye on the music. It's very simple. Kind of tedious listening. Well, I wouldn't call it tedious. It just kind of. I loved its use throughout the film. I thought the ending credits theme song seemed to use it just a little bit too much, but what I want to say about it is it's got a very earworm kind of feel to it. It just kind of, it starts playing, gets into your ear, and you can't get rid of it. And it's kind of fun, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Okay, to be back. Clint Mansell seems to have a way of doing that. Otherwise, I think a lot of the special effects could talk about a little bit of sci-fi, what science is real, whatnot. I think we could probably touch a little bit on the antenna stuff, but I don't know. It's kind of lay. I will say it is kind of interesting. Not exactly relevant to the movie, but think about how a world without an ionosphere would actually handle radio waves, and just how much communications would be going up to a satellite versus, out, and how much the I don't know that we really have explored, point to point on the moon that much, or it seems like we always, or anything I've heard of it has always used a satellite, which of course makes sense to me, but I don't know. I'm getting off topic. I'll just to end right there, I think. This is KG5BGW.
Alrighty, well, I am, it's my turn. I'm the last one. I have a couple quick comments. In terms of science, this guy was exposed way too much to the lunar regolith, and one of the things we're going to have to figure out before we actually colonize the moon is how to get moon dust off of our space suits, because we just can't come in contact with it. It'll chew up our eyes and our skin and our lungs. And but they're working on it. They're trying to figure out ideas. But he was just all in it, putting his helmet on and off inside the little rover, and not taking care with it at all. Okay, it is 12:10. I'm going to open this up. If you have any more comments, you just have to make Go ahead and do it right now.
JDW.
K5JDW, go ahead.
Well, I may be off base here and thought Tom was going to do this earlier, and somebody else kind of touched on it close to it. They were talking about, I guess, how we feel about clones, using them and stuff, and I have much regard for them. Almost sounded like a little touch of, you know, the people were talking about corporations and things, and maybe this went without saying, is why I know I mentioned it. It seemed almost like the way we used to view, you know, slave labor, the mines, factories, things like that. And, I mean, even to a point, I guess if you project it to the future, maybe vegetarians, they don't want to eat animals. You know, we're trying to evolve, you know, humanitarianly evolve. Almost seemed like that kind of thing in the background. And like I said, I haven't seen the movie, but that's what it sounds like from people's comments. And I definitely am going to check it out. K5JDW.
Okay, well, this is WB5OZL. Do we have any last-minute check-ins? Any more comments? Okay, K5ICX, do you have anything on next week's movie yet?
Yes, I do. KE5ICX. You aren't even going to respond. Okay, our next movie will be next week, Menace to Outer Space. Oops, let me do that again. Menace from Outer Space from 1954 with Rocky Jones. This will be a great film. Will probably end early. KE5ICX.
I'm waiting for you to tell us about it. Menace from Outer Space. Oh, that just has a terrific ring to it. Can't wait. Okay, we're going to shut this down. Thank you all so much for your wonderful comments. You're such smart people out there. Okay, this is WB5OZL.